Hey everyone, welcome. It's been a long time. They changed the back end of YouTube on me, caused a slight delay, a couple of minutes, but we're in action and we're talking about Livebearers, so it's a good time. If it's your first time in a live chat, there's going to be a little bit of a delay there. You can chat once every 60 seconds or so. If you're a member, you don't have that. It's still going to tell you you're limited, but you're not, or you shouldn't be. And today we're talking about Livebearers. So if you like Livebearers, subscribe, hit that like button. If you don't, we'll see you in the next video. That's no worries. But I was recently on vacation in Florida, and I finally got an opportunity. I've been to Florida a few times to visit Carl Trochu, is his name, of Miami SWORDTAILS, and he breeds some of the best Livebearers in the world, and he wins competitions all the time. I met him, I think it's in 2012 at the American Livebearer Association convention, and I went there. That was my first convention ever I'd gone to as a hobbyist because I really love Livebearers. And his fish blew me away, just like Charles Clapsaddle. His fish are insane as well. So I've now toured Charles Clapsaddle. You can see all his crazy farm he's got going on there. But his Livebearers were a little bit down from the hurricane. And Carl, same thing. He goes through hurricanes as well. But if you remember, he got a members-only video. We did a little snapshot there, about a 20-minute video of his outdoor fish room, which I'm going to show you some pictures and that kind of stuff for those of you that aren't members. But I really love Livebearers because they were the first thing I ever bred. It was on accident. I had a 65-gallon aquarium. I had bought some black mollies, and the day they gave birth was amazing because I didn't know you could breed fish at that time. And from there, it was always a love for breeding fish. And what I love about Livebearers is there's so many colors, there's so many variants, you know, from different fin shapes, different body types, you know, big bulky body, slender body, different colors, and just a lot of different Livebearers in general. And they're not easy. That's what I also like about them. They are and they aren't. When they're settled into your tank 2 or 3 generations in, they're kind of bulletproof. When they're brand new to you, they're pretty advanced, hard to keep. In my opinion, a lot of the Livebearers are harder to keep than discus are. But, you know, it depends on water. If you have very hard water, well water, you're going to have a lot of success. I don't have that, so it's much harder for me. And I've definitely considered moving to somewhere that has harder water because that is my passion. It's been my passion for a very long time. I love a lot of types of fish, but you'll usually see me integrate Livebearers somewhere, and visiting Carl really reignited that passion because he's been doing it for a long time. He very much specializes in what he does, and which is swordtails, platies, and variatus. Those are all types of Livebearers, and it was refreshing to see someone who still loves it. And he's keeping some of the fish that I keep, which was fun, and then made me realize this is what I want to do. And I visited there as a hobbyist, not as aquarium co-op, and that's a very different thing. With an aquarium co-op visit, we have to set up multiple cameras, we have to film, we have to ask the right questions, we have to get the shots. This time was kid in a candy store, drove 3.5 to 4 hours there. We were staying in Orlando, we had to drive to Miami, and then just nerd out for a couple hours. Well, more like 5 hours by the time we got done, and asked my wife, she was bored. But then, leave, and it was nice just to chat fish and really chat about our passions and talk super nerdy genetics about, what this person's working on. Have you seen this in the hobby? Where'd that go? Do you think this is going to be popular? Do you think that's going to happen? And so it was good. It kind of brought me back to center, if you will, of like, yes, I do love Livebearers. That's why I originally kind of went deeper and deeper and deeper into this hobby. And so I've been working on my fish room like a madman over the last week. I've been back for about a week, and ordering. Well, I brought some new lights. I brought plants. I brought black PVC pipe to redo some things, and so it's really reinvigorated me back to be in the fish room. I've been updating my story on some of the colonies that are going, and that's been fun. I've been feeding a lot, which that's always a sign you're enjoying your fish when you want to feed them multiple times a day. And you can get in a maintenance mode where it's like, I better go feed them because they haven't eaten, versus I want to go feed them again. Like, how are they doing? Are they growing faster? Are the babies doing better? And it was nice just to come back from Florida, and the auto feeders kind of done their job. And we had fry from, the panda guppies finally. We had fry from the variatus platies. We had fry from the Metallicus Livebearers, and just like everything kind of popped while I was gone. And so I come back to all this fry. I've got the excitement. And that's what I really love about Livebearers, and I think a lot of people would love it too, and that is you don't know when stuff's going to pop, and there's always new life happening, and these things are, I find them to be very fun. You get to raise them up, and then eventually one of my favorite parts is passing them along to it. And while we were in Miami, I was talking about Flynn's Fish Forum, about how he also really appreciates Livebearers. He's a younger kid, and we got him some Liberty Mollies like a year or two ago. He's still breeding them, still passing them out around Canada, selling them to stores and that kind of stuff. And we talked about where they came from. Greg Sage, he's friends with them, and that's part of that goes with this hobby, is by picking a specialization, whether it's goldfish, whether it's Livebearers, whether it's cichlids. Once you kind of go down one of those and you get a little deeper into it, you start building these connections with other people that feel the same way about that type of fish. And even though I kind of stepped away from that crowd for quite a while, basically what's really kind of cool to come back on, when I had met Carl originally, I was just a fan, saw his fish do really well on a convention, blown away. Then there was like 4 years later, I took a road trip with Greg Sage, and we drove kind of cross country to go visit another American Livebearer convention. And there I got to have like breakfast with Carl and all that. And I told him like, and at this point we hadn't started the store yet. So it couldn't have been 4 years. It would have been like a year later or something. I think it was my last hurrah or something before opening the store, or no, I had just opened it. That's what it was. I think I had just opened it, and my wife was forcing me to take a vacation. Anyway, we sat down, we had breakfast, and he had known that either A, I was just opening up a store, or B, I had just opened a store and all the struggles and everything. And then to catch up with him basically 6-7 years later was great, because then you can see like what the aquarium co-ops turn into, and he turns out he actually likes watching the videos we produce. Not all of them, but he, stuff about Livebearers and that kind of stuff. So that was fun to reconnect and talk about who's doing what, who's still keeping these rare strains of fish going. And so I want to show you some of these fish, because I've been doing a lot of talking so far, and I feel like if you're not a Livebearer person, you're like, yeah, guppies and stuffs, but I don't know if I like that. And so I want to try and show you guys what I'm talking about here. All right, so let's flip to the website. So this is his website, very rudimentary in that he's a very busy guy with family and breeding fish and all of that. But what is cool is, for the most part, most of these fish are what he has created. So maybe like the fish on the screen, that one that was right here, maybe this isn't the most beautiful thing you've ever seen, but to start seeing albino platies, if you're a platy nerd, you're going, wait, what? You almost never see an albino platy. So not everything is purely for like, it's going to look great, but using that gene to get this albino platy to make it a red albino platy, and to do another thing, and getting some of these crazy finnage he's got going on. And you can see, I did a 20-minute video on this for the members, iPhone, not hyper produced or anything like that. And his fish room is outside, so he has to deal with hurricanes. He has to deal with cold snaps. He has to deal with overheating. He has to put shade cloths sometimes, and things like raccoons and just all that stuff that comes with it. But he also gets tons of algae. He also gets really warm temperatures. He gets extra water changes. He gets all these things that nature provides as well. So he gets a lot of benefits. And so just to see the way in which his operation works is really fun. Oh, I got to hit the Twitter button because we're live. Boom, did it. So I've been lusting after seeing this fish room since 2012, so 8 years. And what I had found out in 2012, because originally it had been in Fort Lauderdale. By the way, hashtag not sponsored. Might go, might not go. I got a busy travel season again, unfortunately. But it's back in Fort Lauderdale, and I've been to multiple ACAs, ALAs, American Livebearer Association conventions. And Fort Lauderdale is amazing because you can go see farms, you can go see collect fish in the wild, and you get the event. So there's kind of a bunch of cool things to do there. So if you're going to go to ALA, it is one of the better ones to go to. And so since then, in 2012, when we went to our first one, I found out that afterwards I wasn't in the know. And so like that Sunday night I flew home, not everyone, but you know, some of the Livebearer nerds like Greg Sage and a few other people I did kind of know, went over to Carl's house and went to a barbecue and got to see his fish room and get some fish and that stuff. So, you know, I've always been like, dang it, I wasn't part of the cool kids club. And now to go back was super cool. So, but yes, one of the things that will probably is happening in the chat right now or will be happening in the comments is how do I get his fish? Because when we look at some of these, you're going to be like, wow, those are crazy. He doesn't sell them, anything like that. He's a hobbyist. He typically will only give them away, maybe have you pay for shipping. But the best place is a convention, or if you're in Florida, that type of stuff. And he doesn't produce a ton of the fish. You know, he's not doing it for profit. He has this whole business or like job and family and all that to do that. This is purely his place to relieve stress and play with the hobby continually. So, but my favorite is to look at the Variatus because I'm a Variatus fan. And if you don't know what the Variatus is, it's kind of like a cold tolerant version of a platy, which is great because you can play with them outside longer and longer. And these are one of my favorites, and he still has them going, which is the Sunset-Variatus. And one of the ones that I'm pining after is the kind of the orange variant where it's mostly orange. Now, a hurricane came through there, really disrupted his system. He's got a few fry, and he's got to grow them up, and then he's going to hit spring and really breed them out. And I hope to either fly back and get some or beg him to send me some or something like that because I really fell in love with that orange, all orange variant. But he plays with other stuff too. This is the one I'm really waiting on. So you can see here some of the genetics are in this. So you breed these out. You can kind of, and I guess I should point that out. One of the aspects that a lot of people fall in love with when it comes to Livebearers, so I love to get babies. That's one of them. But two is to play with them and make a new fish. And so you can take something like this Variatus, and it's like, ooh, that's that orange. I wonder, would it look good if it was all orange? And then you look over here and you're like, yeah, that female looks pretty good being all orange. And then you come down, you see the work he's done with it, and you're like, wait, this fish is amazing. I love that fish, and I would definitely be trying to get it. I just got a message to make sure my stream's not melting down. Oh, if you want to tag along with the website Google, so Google this because it's like a long string. So Google Miami SWORDTAILS, right? And technically it's miamiswordtails.weebly.com. But if you Google Miami SWORDTAILS, that'll let you pull up this site and you'll see that nothing's for sale or anything like that. But you can see this is his work. And what I would point out here is even he knows he needs to update more pictures. But if you come down, he's been keeping track of what he's been doing with his fish room and his fish since 2011. So you can really live someone's career through here, which I think is amazing. He's basically got a diary of his fish. And when you go back to 2011, and you start looking at some of these, you know, maybe the camera work's not great because in 2011 you got kind of a cell phone going, you got blurry, but look at the finish on this swordtail, blood red swordtail. It's crazy, right? And so he's been working with these fish for the last 9 years. And you can see some different genetics in here. I was asking him, like, do you remember the powder blue swordtails that were all the rage back in the day? And I was like, I haven't seen those in forever. And he's like, oh, I've got them. And he's got some fry of them. And so maybe I'll play with those, you know. And it was nice to talk about swordtails. And I was like, yeah, I like swordtails, I like the way they look, but they're too aggressive for my tastes. And he was like, wow, not many people really realize that swordtails are more aggressive than like platies and Variatus and guppies and that kind of stuff. You kind of have to really keep them, I guess, to go, oh yeah, they are kind of ornery with each other and that kind of stuff. And you can see some other variants, like this is a different type of hyphen they've got going there. And so this is all, 2011 stuff. And then you can go like, well, what do you do in 2012? This is the convention I was at. And you can see here, I don't know. Oh yeah, so these were some of Charles Clapsaddle's mollies. And the problem you can't see in this picture, I wonder now, like both of these gold peach male mollies, this one right here and this one right here, there are pictures somewhere of Charles Clapsaddle, and they're like a solid 4.5, 5 inches. Like they're really, really big. And in the video, you can see some of the larger males that Carl has. And if you watch Greg Sage's stuff, you can see that he's got some big males. But Charles Clapsaddle is the one that kind of pioneered these very, very large mollies, and he can get them, you know, to have their sailfin stand up all the time by breeding selectively. So I think that's very cool as well. And so yes, I was at this show. You know, I'm not hiding any pictures or anything. That'd be super cool to find like a picture of myself being extra nerdy back in the day. But even just looking at these pictures, I start recognizing some of these guys that you see at some of these conventions, and you know, you might not even know them for the first time and the second time, but by the third time you're like, hey, that guy in the elevator, you're a fish nerd like me. And they kind of are doing the same thing. And oh yeah, so you can see here that he says Tristan is 11-year-old, took a few photos of the event, you know, and so that's great. So yeah, you can go all the way through the years. You can start picking different years and seeing some of the, you know, he didn't document his own swordtails, but the fish are just amazing. You know, the plumage on that fin, you just don't see that. You can't buy that in a wholesaler. Like I could buy some high fin swords, but they're gonna be nothing compared to, you know, like look at this male, then look at this female. Like this is, you know, picturesque, perfect female almost. And I say almost because there's some work that can be done to this thing, but money usually can't buy this stuff. And a lot of this stuff is stuff that's carrying genetics he's working with, and this will be the next version of something. And look how this is almost like a deep purpley red. And so I hope that what you're seeing here is that the way I talk about it, you can tell that I love it and I nerd out about it. And if you're into it, you're probably enjoying it. If you're not, you're probably hating it. You know, here's some really nice mollies. You know, these, like, look at that sail fin standing up. You know, and the health here. That's the other thing you see. Most times we're going to see them in a pet store or something like that, and they're just going to, they're mollies, but they're not, you know, robust, I guess. They're not really loving the water and everything like that. Like this just, to me, is a great looking fish. I would love to have this fish in my fish room. And then you get to some of the pygmy platies. Yeah, so I've kept these before. Zophosphoris zophidium. They're fun. They only get, you know, they're like a nano fish. They only get about, you know, 2 inches maybe. They're not super colorful or anything like that, but fun, you know. And that's that Livebearer thing of like, they're not brightly colored. They don't even look that good. Yeah, but they're rare and they were hard to get a hold of and they're fun. Birchman eye are used in a lot of research studies. That's a fun fish. But, you know, and I encourage you guys to do this kind of stuff too. This is a very simple website that when he started was nothing, right? So it's just a guy and a couple of photos. But because he's updated it over the years, it's now turned into one of my favorite websites to tune in on. I'm always looking, and a bunch of us are. We're always going, hey, Carl, when are you going to update, you know, what else you got? What do you got brewing? What are you doing? You know? And so if we look at the latest stuff in January of 2017, he's working with some full black Berlin swordtails. Those are really cool. You know, you can see this is the alpha line of swordtails that are hard to keep. You know, his primary thing, he loves swordtails like a lot, but, you know, he also plays with platies and the Variatus. But you can see, you know, so I guess from a breeder standpoint or a real nerd, you can look at this fish here and you go, wait a second, look at that plumage. Look at the marbling in the plumage. And then you go, oh my gosh, I think he actually developed that like back in 2012 or something. Because you can see like where the fish came from, right? You can see this fish 5 years ago. This is what that fish looks like, a little bit. You're right. And then you fast forward 5 years, or this would have been what, 3 years later, I guess? No, 5 years later. Yeah. So you get down here and you go, oh man, he really is improving upon these fish. Every year they're getting better. He's taking the best. He's selecting genetics. And the conversation I was really having with him, oh my gosh. Yeah, these I fell in love with. These are the ones I've been hounding him for. These Variatus, ruby nose Variatus. Whew. Tell me that's not one of the best fish you've ever seen. I really have fallen in love with it. So good. Oh, and look at these Variatus sunset with the high fin. Like, I've got high fin right in my fish room right now. Half as good, maybe. Not even. So this is the ruby nose crossed with the high fin Variatus. Here's some of the blue. I like those as well. But I really I get pumped about the Livebearers because I think part of it is I know that if I can get them, I can breed them, and other people will appreciate them, and they don't even sell for a lot. Like, I've been breeding Variatus platies for like 10 years, and at most I get $3.50 for them at the store. But the people that love them, we find something common, and that's worth a lot to me. And I think Carl and Greg Sage and a lot of these other people, they really like that too. Like, yes, it's gotta pay for its own fish food type of deal, but you know, if we were trying to get rich, we'd breed something else. A wild strain with an unknown location of mollies. Nice. So, you know, I hope the passion comes through there for you, and you know, maybe you're a little bit jazzed. And I guess, you know, where would I find these fish? So I've always been a fan of AquaBid, and I'll pull that up real quick for you guys. You go to aquabid.com and you'd go to Livebearers. You can play with, you know, wild type or domesticated. Typically I hang out in the domesticated if you want what we call kind of fancy Livebearers. And you know, I realized I left off on a point with Carl that we were talking about, and that was there's very few people right now that create fish. And what that means is you start with something normal and you keep breeding it until you make something new. There's tons of people reproducing fish, myself included. I don't make stuff, I reproduce stuff. And he's a guy that makes stuff. Greg Sage is a guy that makes stuff. There's people in Thailand that are making stuff. But most people are reproducing stuff. And when you just reproduce, you take a copy of a copy of a copy of a copy, those typically kind of get worse over time. And that's where when you get something from a Greg Sage, you get something from Carl, you're getting the original pretty much, right? And so you're not getting all those bred down genetics. You're not getting weaker lines. They might not be a set, you know, when you get a pair of fish from Carl, it might breed and you're like, oh, it's got all kinds of stuff in it. But the genetics are very, very strong. Where getting something from a farm, they've been copied and copied and copied and copied and copied and copied. And when you breed them, yes, they all come out the way you want them, but genetically they're weaker and they're just not as big and they're not as robust. And it's because there's different methodologies there. And that is, Carl needs that fish to be giant, needs to look great, needs to do well to show, needs to show everyone who's younger what can be done with the hobby. And it's got all these goals it's got to do. At the farm, has to live, has to be big enough to sell, has to look good enough to sell. That's it. You know, so if one's this big and one's this big and they both sell, they're both fine. Whereas if he's trying to go for show standards, the high fin's only doing that, okay, and this is wrong. And so you get very high quality fish from the source. But this is where typically I'll search and you'll get to know, you know, like Mo Betta's been on there for a very long time. Fishman 1936 has been on there a long time. And you'll start to get to know some of these sellers and you'll go, oh, that guy's a platy guy. Or here's Bioaquatics, right? Remember Bioaquatics? We did a fish room tour, or a fish farm tour, I guess, of his place. And so you can buy some stuff from him. You know, he's got some adult leer-tailed Dalmatian mollies that are unsexed. You know, maybe generic quality, but nevertheless, like, I was thinking about it just the other day. I kind of want to do some Dalmatian mollies, but you know, it's in the middle of winter, so the selection's not as good. Hit springtime and spring and summer, you know, you might see 6-7 pages of different Livebearers you can buy. And so, you know, and then I also hang out in the wilds, because a lot of people think that, you know, we need all this color and stuff, but there's some really cool stuff in wild Livebearers as well. Like if we can find some, well, like Zenotaka Eisenai, which is a goodied Livebearer, which can go really cold water, a little more aggressive, pretty good algae eaters, come from Mexico. Most of them are dang near extinct or at least endangered and threatened. And but they come out with pretty good color just from the get-go. Like this is a decent looking fish in your aquarium. And what's cool about them is they don't have the standard gonopodium like a normal Livebearer would. So it's got some unique challenges there. The big challenge that you got to work on is keeping them cool enough. If they get too hot, 78 degrees, they just fall apart. So you need to keep them in a cooler environment. They don't go with goldfish because they're too aggressive, but they are a great candidate for a garage tank, an unheated basement tank, outdoors, year-round in California type of deal. These are great candidates for that. And I've played with them extensively in unheated garages before, and they do really well. But let me see if I can find Nezzies, as they're called. Or like here's the Metallicus Livebearer, one of the ones that I have in my fish room. You can see here that the chin is all black, and this is maybe not the best picture to explain this, but a nano livebearer that's kind of fun, and it got a nice blue eye on it. So if you like Norman Lampi killifish, you've got this blue eye there that it's like you can livebear that. All right, I don't have to pay $5 or $6 a piece at the store. I can buy a pair for 20 or 30 bucks, breed out a bunch of them, supply all my friends. That's a good time. Ooh, the Merry Widow livebearer. So there's quite a few of, and I've got these in the fish room. Do I Merry Widows? No, I don't have Merry Widows. I have tiger teddies. But the Merry Widow livebearer, you know, again, this is like a cell phone picture, so it's a little blurry, but this is what I love. I love knowing this is a hobbyist. Like, this isn't a professional picture. It's not doctored up. You know exactly, like, they're using plastic plants. They got algae down there. They got fry in the tank. These are reproducing. They're doing good. This is what I'm buying. I love to see pictures like this. And so you might have to Google to see, like, how good this fish would look, but it is a very fun fish. Let me see if I can find, you know, Cracodon lateralis is a great fish, especially if you get Greg Sage's version that's really red. Yeah, these haven't colored up yet, but that's another goodiad, another type of goodiad. You can see a little bit of red, a nice red Cracodon lateralis. Really fun fish. Really rare too. Yeah, I'm not seeing, I would love, you know, this is a wild fish. This is what I love here. This you can, oh, my feeder's going off. This is a fish that you can actually get out of the wild. Could you imagine going down to, you know, Mexico, South America, and just being like, oh my gosh, here it is, right? I can't imagine, like, finding this in a lake down the road. Like, it's great. You know, I enjoy that. And plus, in general, a wild caught fish tends to be fairly hardy because we haven't inbred them, which is nice. Yeah, there's only one page here of wild caught stuff to go through. Orange line guppy, I can tell you some stories about this fish. This fish right here, originally I paid $400 for a pair, and that's because I kept losing and I couldn't afford any more. And this was back in the days when I sold on AQUA. So I was selling a bunch of fish, take that money, reinvest into other rare fish that were just coming onto the scene. So this was probably coming on in 2010, 2011, and this was all the rage. Everyone wanted it. Great looking fish, and it still is a great looking fish. And now, you know, 10 years later, they're $25 for, you know, whatever it is, like 6 juveniles, and then, you know, shipping's probably another $35. You know, so for $50, $60, you can get what I was willing to pay $400 plus shipping for. And that's what's fun, is once they get in the hobby, the price goes down, everyone can enjoy them, and there is some money to be made at the beginning. Oh, this person's got the Merry Widow livebearer too. Let's see if they got better pictures for you. Oh, it's the same person. Sorry about that. But yes, there's a lot of fun stuff. I think I really enjoy it, and you know, I've been talking to some people lately, or one person in particular. They've been breeding a lot of livebearers. They've been following the Breeding for Profit series, which we have here on YouTube. And I believe now he's up to about $1,300 per month. He lives kind of in the Midwest, so that's some pretty good money. Picked up another 2 stores. So every month, think about that. Every month, he started at 0, by the way, like 14 months ago, something like that. And now he's at a point where he's making $1,300 every month and this is like actual money, not just credit. Like, he's making $1,300 selling to his different stores in the Midwest. Because he's producing good fish and he's built up a reputation, and as he gets a couple more stores and then eventually stores get jealous, like, where are they getting these great fish? Eventually he picks up another store and things go a little bit better, and he's doing it right and taking it slow and steady and really making a business out of it for himself, and he's really enjoying it. And it is part of my plan is someday to go and visit. I want to, you know, like do almost like a documentary and go, all right, so you watch the videos, what pitfalls did you have that we didn't cover very well? Where were your successes? What should other people know? What's the income look like? Because he's kept track of it. Like, would you make month 1? Would you make month 14? All of that. Because he gives me about monthly updates, which is fun just to kind of follow the progression there. And there's other people doing it too. But that one is just the one that continually checks in basically every month with what's going on and asks for a little bit of advice. I give that every once in a while. So, yeah. I'm going to check in with chat for a little bit. What other sites do I buy from? Goliad Farms. So Charles Clapsaddle's farm, I bought fish from there. Trying trying to think of other ones. Mostly you Google a bunch and you find the fish you want. Then you just Google and Google and Google and see, does anyone have that fish that I want to buy? You know, that's the thing. But we do have, I do have a couple new products that I'm putting into my Livebearer tanks, and I thought, you know what, I got to do a little bit of selling, so I'm going to work that into this. And a couple of them would be one of my, I actually love these products, by the way. It's not just like I have to show them, like I'm genuinely excited for them. I've got this moss bridge, and it's leaking all over because it was wet in my tank, but the moss coconut bridge, they are super cool because they grow in and they're the perfect fry hide, or a pregnant female can live right underneath here. And as this kind of grows down and over and grows out, really good. And I want to say we sell them for like 11 bucks or something. It's I think, this is me personally as a hobbyist, value to dollar ratio is like off the chart with these stupid things. Like compared to like Java Fern on Wood, $26. Like this thing right here, this is Christmas moss, and a lot of it for $11 is a really good deal. And the other one that I really love are Christmas moss floating balls. So it's got a lead weight that sinks it. It'll sit there, and this orb will just continually get bigger and make this mass for Livebearers to hide out in, and it really, really helps. So I brought a bunch of these home this week to put in my tanks. I've been working on them, cleaning them, you know, maintaining them, getting ready to order more fish when I get back from my next trip. By the way, next week there will not be a live stream. Well, at least there will not be a live stream probably on my channel. I may do a live stream, but it will be with Tazawa's Tanks. I will be in San Francisco. We're doing a couple of things there. One, we're speaking on Friday, so if you're within, you know, driving distance of the San Francisco club area, go to our Facebook page. You can click on events. You can come see me. I'm going to talk about treating aquarium fish with meds and that kind of stuff in a practical way for your home. And but outside of that, Dean and I are basically doing a pimp my fish room thing, something we've wanted to do for a while, and just try it. And so, you know, we're gonna basically get free run of his fish room. So I think we've got kind of a cool plan together, and we've got basically Thursday, some of Friday, and some of Saturday to pull it off. And we've already sent some supplies there. And so Dean and I are going to get to work, and maybe Zenzo will make a video, maybe he won't, maybe I'll make a video, maybe I'm sure I'll do like a little bit of something behind the scenes, maybe for like the members, but I, you know, probably just leave it all to him to let him debut on his channel and all of that. I don't want to spoil anything, you know, if he's got videos pre-recorded and that stuff. So but yeah, so that's why there won't be a live stream next week. We're gonna go build stuff, and that's really fun. I love working with Dean, and hanging out with Zenzo is fun. And he's already got Snickers waiting for me, and water. We're set, and so it should be a good time. And so, you know, just putting that out there. We're not inviting anyone to help us build, but you're more than welcome to come out to the talk. Both Zenzo, I will be there. Dean will be there. Barry Aquatics will be there. I know there's other YouTubers that are going to be there, and just lots of people. And I believe, and I don't speak for the club, but I believe after that, it's standard practice to go out to dinner somewhere. So if you've never been, it's super low key. Don't worry about it. It's not like oh geez, it's a high pressure situation. It's going to be super cool. And you know, join if you want to join. I recommend joining a club because it's always good. You buy cheap fish, buy cheap plants, get friends, go out to eat afterwards, and it gives you a reason to get out of your fish room once a month. And you know, if anything, you can you know, laugh with Dean. Dean's like the jester of anywhere he goes. He's the class clown. So I think it'll be a good time. I know that one of my good friends, Carlos and Diane, will be there. You've seen, well, you may not have seen it, but if you want to see it, that fish room also exists on our channel. Zenzo's fish room exists on our channel. He also has his own channel, obviously. So, you know, catching up with a lot of old friends is always a good time, and gonna be good fish. Like if Carlos is coming, you know, he's breeding freshwater pipefish. They've got all kinds of rare Corridoras and plecos and chameleon whiptail cats. So he always brings fish when he goes to a club, and so there's gonna be rare fish to buy too. And what's cool about a club, if you've never been, that fish that might be $100 in the store might go for $12, and you go, oh, I picked up 6 of these for $40. you know. And then sometimes you've got something super rare where a nerd like me is bidding $100 for a stupid pair of guppies because I will do anything for them. But for the most part, hobbyists are looking to sell to hobbyists, and because all the middlemen are cut out, you're getting great deals. So I highly recommend getting involved with your local club. Even if you're not local to San Francisco, don't worry. Like, I'll be in Virginia next month speaking there, and you know, but having a local club to go to anyway, good idea. You should be a part of it, at least for a few years. You know, at least that. All right. Well, please come to Denver. I don't know. I spoke at the Colorado Club. I spoke there 2 years ago. Yeah, it's this weird, you know, I don't know how much speaking I'm going to do, you know, already. So, you know, we did Florida this month, and then I do San Francisco next month. Then after that I do Virginia. Then after that I do Germany, and that's just like that's like the first like 4 months of the year. So, you know, I'm not trying to travel 1 to 2 times every month, because here's what happens. By going and speaking in person, we're now missing Thursday's live stream, right? And by, you know, so you're like, okay, that's 1 for 1. But what also happens is my life gets uprooted and we don't get pushing forward on the fish room. We don't get some of these other projects we want to get done. And so I'm trying to very much so, you know, quote unquote, stay home or stay close to home, and you know, just produce content for you guys and work on stuff. You know, which if you guys have been following along, like on the community page and the Facebook, or not Facebook, but the YouTube stories, you'll see I've been posting more there. We've got info guides. Maybe some have popped up here in the chat, but you know, like a infographic on how we recommend changing water. We've got one on plant deficiencies. We've got another one coming out on algae. We've got these things that we've been working on, trying to get, you know, my goal is to start putting out 10 to 12 pieces of content every week, with YouTube being 1 or 2 of those videos, right? So maybe a video and a live stream, and then 10 other ways in which we're interacting with you guys every week, so that we can continually get these things in a digestible format out onto the internet, and then you guys help share them and you consume them and all of that stuff. So we've been putting a lot of infrastructure on that, and it's been going very well. You know, Irene's been a great addition. Candy's been a big help. There's a lot of employees offering input. Jimmy's working full time. We've got Danny's Aquarium's doing some work for us now. You know, so as we keep pulling more people into the mix, we keep getting better and better at what we're doing. We're getting faster. We're getting better at it. And, you know, right now I've been really playing with the studio. We've got the lava lamp. We got a fan that made us this super duper cool logo. I don't know where it's going in here yet, because I'm still working on this, but let me show it to you guys. Oh, it's heavy. Look at this thing. It's made out of like brass and steel, and this is like acrylic. Like, tell me this isn't one of the coolest things you've ever seen. At least, I mean, obviously it's my brand, right? So I'm like extra partial to it, but it is so cool to me that a fan would take time. Like, this took a lot of work. The fact that they'd take time, use a CNC machine, make all this stuff, and just give it to us. I haven't even, like, my brain is still working on how do I say thank you for something like this, because this came from the heart from this person. You know, it didn't come, like, all the time we'll get stuff like, I could make you something really cool, it'll only be $300. This person did all the work and gave it to us. And when someone is that charitable to us, it's like, how do I say thank you appropriately for that? And I'm going to find a way, because he's a local person. And but you know, I do want to see this living somewhere in my background, because I really enjoy it. And yeah, it's so cool to me. Like, I don't know. I think it's because it's metal. I don't know why it's so cool, but it just looks rad. So I'm very appreciative of that kind of stuff. I mean, I'm blessed in that you guys send us a lot of stuff, whether it's candy. I've got candy over there from having a brain fart. Kerry, I can't remember his last name. He's in Canada. I've got candy there I've been enjoying. Like, we get little gifts from you guys a lot, and we try to share them with the employees and that kind of stuff. We're always appreciative. And there's a lot of other gifts we've got. And, you know, my wife is always like, show this on the live stream and that. Please don't take it offensively if I don't show it on the live stream. Like, I know I've got this really cool glass like pendant thing. I know I've gotten some other like logo type stuff work, and it's totally here, and it's totally going to be a part of this room. But I always forget. Like half the live streams I do, I can't even remember to tell you guys to please support us by buying from us. So it's, you know, there's a lot of stuff going on to be kind of working on the fly and going, okay, get those other things you meant to do. And so, you know, please don't take offense to that. I love everything. And, you know, we get stuff from, you know, right now I know we have towels that are like taco themed, and there's all kinds of cool stuff we get, and we're always appreciative for that. So, you know, just know that I'm trying. Yes, it was Carrie Pitt. Thank you, Candy. It was the last name throwing me for a loop. Ooh, and I know. So, by the way, I do open. Let me see if I can. Austin Morris, if you're watching, I got your letter, and if I find the time, I plan to write you back. If I don't write you back, please understand that as I have forgotten. It is like I don't want to give. Well, I can give my address away. This is, you know, the Aquarium Co-op address, but like it is on my desk right here for me to, and it's in here, right? Like here's your letter. It like I hope to find the time to write you back in a meaningful way, because you wrote me a really heartfelt letter, and I appreciate that. And it sits here on my desk to try and remind me this is important to me to do it. So I do, you know, even though it might not seem like it because we've grown, like we're closing on 400,000 subscribers at this point. If you haven't subscribed yet, hit that button. You know, it might not seem like I'm responding to a lot of comments, but I dedicate the same amount of time every day. I basically spend about an hour. I wake up and I start answering comments every day. And when a video goes live, I typically answer comments for at least like an hour. And it just seems fewer and far between because there's more and more and more and more comments. But I am, so even though I don't reply to everything, I read almost everything. And I say almost because I'm sure there's some that get through the, you know, like I just miss it, like it hits the right time or something like that. But I do try and stay way engaged with you guys as much as possible. And so, you know, thanks for all the feedback and all the stuff you guys do for us. Okie doke. Yeah, put it on the bottom right of the goldfish tank. Yeah, so I've thought about like it could go here. It can also go over there, and ways to mount it and that kind of stuff. Yeah. So definitely, because it was brought to us while I was in Florida, so I didn't even get to see it in person until like 3 or 4 days ago. And that's, so some people will like email and ask, like, I sent stuff, Corey didn't acknowledge it. Realize that stuff goes to a retail store, kind of collates there, and then Robert the manager will be like, here's a stack of stuff that came for you, and then I go through it and I try to, you know, I try to make a comment, usually when you guys leave a comment, you know, like I think I thanked Carrie in a comment on YouTube and that kind of stuff. So I try to, but I can't always remember it all. And you know, one of my biggest fears is that people get offended by, because I don't say thank you correctly. But, you know, like writing a physical letter each time would be very taxing. So, are we doing a like spike? Oh, if you ask for it, you get it, Aiden. All right. I need like a big countdown thing, but we're going to like spike. And what that means is everyone hits the like at the same time to, you know, send YouTube off its rockers. So we're counted down from 8, the ocho, the octagon. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3. At 1, we click the like button. 2, no, 1. Boom. Hit it. Thank you very much. All right. Coop has a lot of plants. Yes, we've been having a little bit of trouble with plants. And what I mean by that is the coronavirus has extended Chinese New Year. What does that mean? That means things that would come from China that we had planned aren't here. So things like tweezers and goldfish and other products. So as that goes on, we'll be managing that. And that's, you know, people might be emailing us like, when are you going to get this? Like, I don't know. And we always have these kind of logistical problems in our business, you know, whether it's a typhoon that hits one country, whether it's a virus, whether it's time of year being too hot, you know, there's always these things. We try to navigate them as best as we can. We were prepped to have enough to get us through the normal Chinese New Year, but here we are with a delay. And so, you know, things like tweezers and a few other products will be delayed. So just know that. It looks like I have a struggler behind you. It's black and it looks like a swim bladder issue. Yes. Yep. It's been here for months and months, you know. The reality is we've put an insane amount of meds through all these fish, and pretty much every high-end fish I bought from reputable dealers has not been very good. The cheap fish that I've bought and raised up have been very good. But you'll see in a video coming out in the next few weeks where I'm talking about some things that we went, like in this thing, we went through ProZipro twice, went through General Cure twice, went through ICX twice. We went through an insane amount of water changes. We changed up the food. This was the food getting changed up was like 6 weeks ago to wheat germ only. They've been on that diet for the last 6 weeks. Hasn't made a difference. And I'll leave it to the video so you'll see what was the culprit or what we think is the biggest factor. And you know, unfortunately, we did lose a fish to dropsy, and you know, we isolated it. We've been treating it. You know, dropsy in itself, when a fish actually gets dropsy, the mortality rate is crazy high, and so it's not good. But that is one of the struggles with goldfish, is that, you know, if they've got poor genetics, it makes it kind of difficult. I've considered changing this tank out because it makes me sad in that, you know, talking about fish that maybe have a swim bladder problem or, you know, get lazy after they eat, like that guy. He's still eating. That's what you can't see is he's sitting on top of the food. You know, if I can I zoom in? I don't know if I can enhance. Let me see if I can enhance. Enhance. Will it zoom in on anything but my head? You can see he's just sitting there eating. Let's see if I can zoom in more. But underneath him is all the food. He likes to sit on it so he can keep it. And it takes him longer to eat because it's only wheat germ at the moment. Well, that's not true. At the moment in that feeder, it's gotten down to a mix of wheat germ and extreme. The extreme, they go crazy for. The wheat germ, they're like, how dare you? Making us eat our vegetables, high fiber diet. But yes, there definitely, you know, are some fish that have wen issues. That guy's got a swim bladder issue right there. So I'm in this weird thing of like, you know, I've got a bunch of ranchos quarantined that are babies that are doing well. You know, I'm going to run probably another medicine, levamisole, through here. But I honestly don't think there's a medicine. I don't believe there to be like ick or gill flukes or anchor worms. I actually don't think that's the problem. I think it's these things are crazy derpy and yeah. So that's my professional Goldie opinion of like, yep. And there was a factor that I was able to find that is not usual that I believe was causing them some stress that took me longer than it should have to diagnose. And you guys will see that in a video so you guys can learn along with me. But that is what's going on there. I thought about converting it to maybe single-tailed goldfish because they're way easier. You know, that'd be like comets, chubunkins, that kind of stuff. Or even koi. I thought about just planting it up and doing lots of Livebearers. One of the ones that we are thinking about at some point is we'll probably move Ladybird into here because she's getting, you know, pretty hefty size. My wife has been feeding her well, and it makes sense to move her to this tank. So let me check in and see. Yes, Jason Livingston made the Murphy logo. Thank you very much, Jason. I knew, like, I asked for your email, and so I have those details, and I'm not sure what I want to do for you yet. And I wanted to say your name was Jay, but I didn't want to screw it up. And there's no worse way to say thank you than to say someone's name wrong. Oh, thank you, John. I love the Murphy logo. And then you're just like, oh, geez, what have I done? So I, you know, when in doubt, just neglect to mention it. So thank you very much. I do appreciate it, honestly. Let's see. Can a goldfish with swim bladder sinking issue live a totally normal, happy life? So the way I look at goldfish with, you know, like maybe these goldfish, like that one's got a floaty issue, right? What are my options? My options are kill it, or my option is let it live. I think letting it live, because it can eat, it breeds, you know, so there's that. And it's living a pretty good life. And I kind of look at it like a human that needs to live in, let's say, a wheelchair. Can they live a normal, happy life? I think so. There's a lot of people that have great lives, you know, while living in a wheelchair. I haven't done it, so I can't know. I'm also not a goldfish with a swim bladder problem, so I can't know. I can only make an educated guess on, does it look happy? And so when I see it breeding with another goldfish, when I see it racing over to eat food, when I see it chewing on my plant, just like all the other ones are, I go, you know, outside of me and you guys going, hey, that guy doesn't look very good, I don't think he or she knows that. So, you know, there is a difference when you get a swim bladder issue on a goldfish and it can't right itself. You know, there's a certain point where that probably is affecting quality of life, and you don't want to put it with aggressive things. So like when it is breeding season and that kind of stuff, you wouldn't want a goldfish that can't right itself and can't swim away getting harassed by other fish that want to breed with it or something like that. So you might have some special care, and they're like, okay, this goldfish needs to go live in another one. And I've thought about that too. I've thought, do I remove any goldfish that I think might be having some, you know, swim bladder issues, overgrown wen, anything that would cause them not to be acting perfect on camera? Do I move those into my personal fish room and keep them as pets, like I'm keeping them pets here? Or is it a better thing to just show people that it's okay to have a special needs goldfish or fish in general, and that just because a fish is flashing doesn't necessarily mean it has ick or gill flukes or anchor worms or, you know, anything like that? And, you know, I've kind of sided with that because, one, I get to be lazier, but two, I believe that, you know, kind of keeping real, this is real fish keeping of, yes, I could continually groom, take, and add fish away from here and just make it always look as best as possible, or I can give you a real look into what it's like to owning fancy goldfish. And the reality is there's always going to be something a little off about some of them. You know, if I had single tail goldfish, they're way easier, and they're just not as inbred, and they don't have wen problems, and their digestional tracts are just easier to deal with. But I like the challenge. I enjoy it. And that's the thing I ask myself. Am I enjoying it? I am enjoying it. And I think I probably have another 3 months to 3 years with goldfish in this tank before I'm like, you know what, I should do, you know, Murphy, or not Murphy, but Ladybird. But part of the problem I was thinking about is if I move Ladybird in there, you know, what am I going to put with her? And so I was like, well, I better test what I want to put with her, because if I put her in there and then I put like some Variatus platies and she just eats them, now I look like an idiot. You know, but I know that like all my other Maboo puffers have never had a problem living with other fish. But if Ladybird does it on camera, all of a sudden I'm a moron. So it's like, well, I should test that a little bit. Because right now she's just living the life of luxury. 230-gallon tank to myself. That's a great time. So, you know, we'll see where it goes. And that's, you know, my new way of doing the channel, I would say, in the last couple months is do what I want to do. If tomorrow I wake up and that thing's got to be an African cichlid tank, that's going to be an African cichlid tank. You know, that's just the way I'm going to do it. And it's making it a lot easier for me to make content. It's making it a lot easier for me to enjoy it instead of like, well, got a whole goldfish theme going on. I can't really abandon it now. So we'll take it one day at a time. And, you know, hopefully that answers your question. And, yeah. It is disappointing, though, that the most expensive goldfish are having the problems. That's unfortunate. Because it's like, I guess I felt like, because I would say I hadn't shopped from these places before and spent that kind of money where they're $200, $300, $400 a fish. I was expecting better lineage. And what I'm seeing is, for the most part, I believe you can buy much smaller fish for a much less price, grow them up, and have the same odds of them being great or not. And so, you know, and I actually think that I might be an advantage for growing them up in my own water, them doing better, controlling their diet, making sure they never got hormones, making sure, you know, some of these other things are, you know, never happen to them. But, you know, we'll see. It's always learning. I love to learn. Oh, one thing I did learn, by the way. So what I was thinking about is like, okay, so if we did think that it's possibly gill flukes, I know it's not anchorworm because it's very visually easy to see, but let's say it's some external parasite or bacteria I can't see. It's Costia or something with the naked eye. What I might do is add a medicinal level of salt in there to help fight that off. And so then my thought was like, oh, I wonder how the crinum can take that. I know it's an African plant. In general, they're more tolerant of salt, and they're actually one of the plants that's recommended for brackish water tanks. So I think I'll be able to keep a nice, good therapeutic level of salt, like a tablespoon per 3 gallons in there, and not adversely affect the plant, and we might get some benefits. So I might run that for 2 or 3 months and just see how the goldfish react to that. And but I've got some other changes going on right now that I want them to see if they come around. It's a learning process, and I realize it's an expensive fish, but we do it with all our pets all the time. Like, I want to see if I can teach my dog to sit. You learn. Yo, where the clown loaches at? They're in a 125-gallon tank about 20 feet that way. That's where they're at. So, kind of got bored of them being the main display behind me for a couple of years or whatever they were. And so I moved them to a 125 where I'm enjoying them. We've been selling off some of the colony to lessen the amount because obviously the amount of clown loaches we had in an 800-gallon was way too many to have in a 125. But I do enjoy them. I'm not sure what number I'm going to settle on yet. But we still have more than I need to have. We still got some big old lunkers in there. We got a bunch of ones, about that big now that we grew out, and we're still enjoying them though. All right. I remember when Solid Gold Aquatics lost every single one of our goldfish. Not even Florida University could find the cause. Sometimes that's just a thing. It's you do run into can you afford to keep chasing what could be wrong with them? And like I knew with Hank, my first Mubu puffer, each test was, started at $200. And so you would test like, was it this bacteria? Was it this fungus? Was it this? Was it this? And, you're like, okay, so there's 117 things we can test for at $200 each. You're just like, or they're like, and even if we tell you, what does that do for you? Like, you're right. It doesn't necessarily do anything for me. So, we did have them do, I had a vet do, or not a vet, but a vet tech that was very proficient in fish and all that, do a necropsy and was able to find all these lesions on the heart and the liver and that kind of stuff. And from there, we were able to diagnose what it was, and it was incurable. And, and it was good enough to be like, yeah, there's nothing we could have done. It wasn't something we caused. So that's mostly what I think we want as a hobbyist is we want to learn, is it something I'm doing that causes this result? And I believe that the part of what's going on here is some of my fault, and you'll see in that video why. But at the same time, I think if I was consulting any of you, you would have been like, "Oh my God, I did not expect that. That's counterintuitive for sure." And everyone that's watched the video so far, we've been proofing it and editing it. They're like, "Oh my God, I'm gonna." They're like, I'm gonna go buy that tool. I didn't know to check for that either. Like, I didn't realize that was a thing. So it is. You learn, and even though it's something I knew, it's something that seemed highly unlikely, and therefore my assumptions led to possibly them doing a little bit worse than they would. But I still, like whatever I do doesn't have an effect on overgrowing a wen. I need to. I hesitate to even say I need to trim it back because I can still see. It's just like what happens on camera right now is the wen starts growing over their eyes. And so they can see like downward pretty good, but not necessarily up. And so that's where you'll see the goldfish kind of go down and look at the food, and it looks like it's scraping, but it's because it's goldfish, the way they swim, it's just like this. And once they turn, it's easier for them to just kind of like bounce off of that thing. And, but with trimming a wen, you could bring on a bacterial infection. You could, damage the eye. There's things that can go on, and it's not a permanent fix. Like, because it's a fatty tissue in the wen of a goldfish, it does continue to grow. Hopefully scar tissue forms there, and it continues to grow in a different direction and not necessarily over the eye. But there might be a time when if it was completely blind, couldn't see at all, there maybe is a case for trimming the wen, but also there might be a case of like, great, put it in a tank that doesn't have to compete with other fish that can see as well, and it might live a good life too. And I want to do it. I really want to get Dr. Tim Morgan on it because I want to do some teaching with it too. And I don't think it's a time sensitive thing. So if in 3 months we do that video and we can educate, we can teach about dosing MS222 and yeah, like I want to use it as a teaching thing as well. Recon Aquariums, don't worry, buddy. I saw your message and I appreciate everything you ordered. Glad to hear shipping was good. Our team is amazing. Continually our team and our processes get better. And I'm very thankful for that. I do want to, one of my important things I'm supposed to do this live stream. Thank you, Recon's Aquariums. You reminded me. This is the official announcement. We are raising our shipping prices. I know that can only be a bad thing. I get it. No one wants to hear that Snickers bars are $1.12 now and they used to be 50 cents. No one likes it. I get it. So what we're going to say, I'm going to recognize, yes, you may go shop other places. All that stuff might happen. But we are good at what we do, and we were forced. I was forced with a decision, and the decision was bring quality down and keep pricing the same, or raise shipping cost and continue to keep the great quality. And we will always side with that. And so the official change that's going to happen is free shipping is now at $99 from $49. If you've been with us for a very long time, we used to have that years ago, right? So we had to revert. We've had 3 shipping increases. That's put a damper on things. Tariffs put a damper on things. Employee wages have gone up. We have one of the lowest turnover rates of like any business I know. A lot of our employees just keep staying with us year after year. And in general, you reward employees who stay with you for a long time and continually get better. And that's the thing. An employee that was with us 3 years ago today is way, way knowledgeable and a very good asset, and is helping, ship and helping our in-store customers and all that. So that went to $99 to get free shipping. It also helps reinforce the second part of our battle plan, and that is to get you guys to order less often, but the same amount of stuff, right? So instead of like right now, we have people that live in Edmonds where our store is that will order from us every week because the shipping's just $5. And that's, kind of bad on the environment, and there's more risk when we're shipping stuff. Like shipping something in the mail has more risk than you drove in and picked it up, right? So there's that. We need to kind of basically the way it works is any order under about $20, especially if it's a live plant, we're just losing money on, because we don't charge people for the heat packs and the liners and all of these things. We don't want to put you in a situation where you didn't buy the heat pack and they all died. Sorry. Like, it needs a heat pack if it's going to where it's freezing like that. It shouldn't be an extra. We're charging you $3.50. So $99 is the threshold now, or will be. You've got about I think Monday it goes into effect, I think. And there could be a couple day delay there. Like, we got to roll it out. And then the shipping in general was $4.99. It's going to $9.99. And that's because just with the great employees we have and the increased shipping costs, our average cost to ship anything at the moment, like if you order just, let's say you ordered this right here, with the heat pack and the liner, is going to cost us about $12. So just from the get-go, you'd pay $10 or $9.99 or what? Yeah, I think it's $9.99. But we're already at a $3 deficit, with the heat pack and the labor and all of that. So, you can just see at $5 we were at a huge deficit, and we were trying to really see, would the tariffs go away? Could we find a different way we absorbed it last year. Pricing went up on shipping. We found a way we could absorb it by bringing in some of our own products and that kind of stuff. And this year, I can't find another way. So that's what we have to do. and it allows us to keep doubling down on customer service. Like, you know, we have candy and all of that. So, you know, there's a lot of people that say we're worth it. I thank you very much for sticking with us. We know we will lose some people. That's just, unfortunately, we have to take that loss so that we don't lose everyone, right? And so, you know, we want to continue to keep putting out free content, all these info guides, more videos, and all of that. It all comes at a cost. Everything in the world kind of rises every year, and this is what we have to do. So just know that you're going to get some emails if you're part of our newsletter that says, hey, our shipping's going up, and now you've got at least this firsthand reason on like why it's going up. It's not, you know, one way we could have done it. We could have inflated all the prices on the products, kept the low shipping. That's what most companies do. But because we have the initiative last year of, you know, we're keeping products basically as low as we can and keep them sustainable and all of that. It doesn't make sense to then next year just come back and go, well, let's just up everything like 10% and that'll cover it, right? So that's not what we want to do. We want to be just honest and go, look, you know, and we find a lot of people, it really rings true when you buy a product from us. Let's say you just want to return it, like, oh, I bought too many or I bought the wrong thing. That happens. And you go to ship it back, you're like, it's crazy expensive to ship this back. Like, yeah, we know. We pay a little bit less than what you pay. We probably get like a 10% discount from what you would pay. So if you're like, hey, that thing costs $12, like, yeah, it would have cost us, you know, $10.80 or $10.20 to ship that. And so that's what, you know, that's the long sales pitch there of, you know, same great taste. It's just going to be more expensive now. You know, but if you were already buying at $99, or you can buy at $99, we then do make enough profit that we can give away the free shipping, you know, and the heat pack and the liner and all of those things. And so, and it's going to help, you know, the next step of this, by the way, is our kind of environmental initiative of, you know, we want it so that we can maximize the boxes so that we aren't having wasted space. And it's not the Amazon thing where it's like, you know, you get that clown-sized box and then you get this thing in it. Like, what is this? Oh, it's a cell phone charger. You know, you get that. I think everyone's experienced that by now, where you've got that obscenely oversized box and a bunch of packing paper, and you're like, for this? How did that? Whose good idea was that? So we're gonna, you know, work with you guys to get the most out of your shipping as well. That's the goal. Is we want you to know, by the way, you've got, you know, this pocket in this box. You could add this or that. And definitely great, you know, letting you know you're this far away from getting that free shipping. And there's some other things in the works too. I don't want to talk about them yet, because if they don't work out, you're going to go, hey, you said. But we're trying real hard. So that's all I can say is we're trying hard. What about Canadian shipping? Is that ever coming? It's highly unlikely we will ever ship from... Well, I can't say that, because as we continue to get more and more expensive in the United States for shipping, it gets closer and closer to Canadian shipping. So I guess if those were on par, we might ship a bunch to Canada. But just know that inherently it's a lot of work to ship to Canada, because we can't ship any meds, can't ship any electronics, and can't ship any live goods. So you're left with a narrow group of products. That's, you know, and for the most part, all of those products, we intend, like, let's say I think we have like 250 different items. If 50 of them can be sold across the border, we intend to basically get those 50 onto Amazon so you can order them there. And it gets tricky when it comes to paying duties and all these taxes. And it's kind of easier to do, let's ship a pallet of goods and pay it once, and not go, well, we need to pay it 792 times this month, because each one's a little thing about it, or a little, you know, transaction. Andrew says, I love the videos. I have 2 tanks because of you. Thanks very much to teach you about fish. Well, thank you. Glad you got in the hobby. All right. Corey, I had some leopard puffers years ago. Can you do an update? There's not a lot of info on them. The update you would want to see would be on Dean's Fish Room, his Instagram. He just posted yesterday or the day before that we're finally getting some breeding action. We had our original group. They went to Dean because I was traveling all the time. Now Dean travels a lot too, so that didn't work out too well. But and we got some more from Preston John to bolster that group up. But you know, they're starting to bite the tummies of each other, and that's a good breeding behavior. And so hopefully we'll get some we'll get some fry out of that. But that's the update there. We wanted to fit. Oh, what happened? Can I talk about? Yeah, Dean's a good guy. I'll let me. When Jimmy was out here, we were all supposed to get together and film at Dean's house and do a big thing. And I won't say why, but basically the whole time Jimmy was here, Dean was in the hospital. So we definitely checked in on him a bunch, and we wanted to do a bunch of cool stuff. But it's when a friend's down, you're not be like, it'd be really convenient. I flew Jimmy out if we could just go and film, right? So he's doing better now. He'll be at the he's going to work with me on Zenzo's Fish Room, and he'll be at the club and all of that. So there's always the stuff going on behind the scenes of people still have a real life, and people get sick and stuff happens, and we try to bring out a product that relatively has little hitches in it of like, oh yeah, video comes out every week and live streams happen lately, not that periodically, but should be pretty periodic, and we do what we can. Ooh, yeah, there's new members, and I haven't addressed any of them. Michael Gibson is one. How do I find where my new members are? Ooh, right here. Mayoke, Michael Williams, and Nick Benchard. Definitely not a noob. Alexander and Thomas Glazer. Yes, and by the way, you guys, when you're done with this live stream, go onto the community page, and because now you're members, you'll see you have extra posts. And those extra posts would be like the tour of Miami SWORDTAILS and some other, just like I get a lot of feedback. That's my main feedback loop that I try. So like when I'm releasing a guide or a new product or something like that, I go, what do you guys think? Is this good? Is it bad? Did it break on you? So I use you guys as a good feedback loop. And I always try to be 100% honest. And my sales pitch is essentially I guarantee nothing. And what I mean by that is 1 month I might have to travel the whole world and I don't have a lot of time to put content out. And the next month I might be doing a live stream, dedicated video, picture every day, all of that kind of stuff. And there's definitely the gamut in there. And it's always on my mind that I want to, like give a little bit of extra stuff to the members and all of that. And meanwhile, I also mixing stuff in for everyone who's just a subscriber and all of that. And, there's trying to appease a lot of people there. But if you do, kick in that extra $5, you do get some of those extra things. And I do have some ideas I want to try and do as time allows, but we'll see where that goes. And I like to be very upfront, and I don't want to be like, your $5 buys you this, because I'm not confident I can always deliver that. And so that's why I think it says like some pictures and maybe a video. And I always try to over deliver. Sometimes I don't. I got to be honest. Sometimes it's like, whew, December was crazy. Did you know Christmas happened and we had a lot of sales and stuff happened? I mean, I still think I got some stuff out, but it goes. And so yeah, I appreciate it though. The support is nice. The Zen Ginger says, hi Corey. I have a Molly with what appears to be wasting disease or a parasite. Is it too late once I've identified it? What could you do? Or wait, what would you... Hold on. My doorbell is ringing and I was trying to read and it messed me up. Or what would you take her out and treat her with first? Okay. The first thing I would try is General Cure. Basic dewormer. And by the way, product plug. Oh yes. We have brought on the Fritz General... No, it's not General Cure. What do they call it? They call it... What the heck do they call it? We brought one product in. We're going to bring another one in. I got to look it up. I'm this good at sales. Blow your guys' minds. I know we're selling it. My brain is not good. Paracleanse. Whew. Close. Fritz Paracleanse is what I recommend because it's a better deal for your money. It's the same active ingredients as General Cure, which we've used forever and a day. We've been testing Paracleanse for months now, internally on fish that come in and all of that. And we've got another med that I have not finished testing on, but it's a high likely contender we will bring in. So I would get yourself some Paracleanse or General Cure. Paracleanse being the better deal of the two, at least from us. I can't guarantee everyone would be that way. And that's a general dewormer there, and that might get it. If that doesn't get it, I would then move to a levamisole or a flubendazole. Those both get harder to get. They're basically goat dewormers or cattle dewormers. But I would start with the general cure or the paracleanse. By the way, we have updated our trio. So our trio, I guess this is how I sleep at night, by the way. So yes, our shipping price is going up. However, the quarantine trio that you can see here for $43.99 now includes the 20-pack of the dewormer. So it used to only carry the general cure. This is a 10-pack, treats 100 gallons, and it was $43.99. Well, now we include the Fritz Paracleanse that treats 200 gallons at the same exact price. So yes, shipping went up, but we are giving you more for our money, and that's how I sleep at night going, we had this opportunity. You know, Fritz is willing to have a better price point on their product. We can swap that product into here, leave the price the same, and therefore, like if you guys spend $99, you are getting more for your money now. You know, that's a good thing. Whereas if you had just bought this package and paid the $5 shipping, you're basically getting the same now. So when you pay the $10 more for the shipping, or the $5 more for the shipping, but you get twice as much dewormer, I think you're still coming out better. But, you know, that's how we work. I could have easily just been like, because we sell a lot of quarantine trio, obviously. I could easily go, you know what, this product got more expensive. Oh, Easy Grain got more expensive. But, you know, I'm genuinely trying to push prices down. And then when we have increases, they just have to be there. So I try to be fair on all levels. All right, let me find the chat again. 2,000 neon tetras in the 800 gallon. I've thought about something like that, but I guarantee what would happen, being that it's on YouTube and it gets filmed a lot, I would get neon tetra disease, and that would just be like, oh no, what have I done? Oh no. So that's kind of why I haven't done it. It would look super cool though. I have no doubt about that. And I have thought about neons or cardinal tetras or what's that guy doing? Or something like that with Ladybird. So it's not out of the question, but I do love a big school of neon tetras. Something fierce. Love it. When are the auto feeders coming back? Most likely, well, I shouldn't say never. I don't know. It's been rough with some vendors to get fixes. And right now, like nothing's pushing forward out of China because, you know, coronavirus has kind of got that place locked down. You know, the holidays being extended, people are telling me to stay home. So anything we were actively working on just hasn't moved in like nearly a month now when it comes to stuff in China. And our feeders were made in China. So I'm not going to say never, but right now it's a very low priority on us. Like I still use them, I still like them, but they're not at a rate we want. I don't know. That's the truth. I'd love to tell you they're here tomorrow, you know, but they're not. So I want them. I don't know. What about platinum marijuana since they're legal in the United States? I could. I'm not a huge arowana fan. Like I've had arowanas. I had an albino. I typically get bored of them because they just don't do a whole lot for me. Like they just swim in their circle and they're like, it's cool to look at, but I typically have to have an aquarium that has multiple things to it, so I can be like, oh, I'm playing with the plants, I'm adding more fish, I'm trying new food, I'm doing a new thing. But with arowana, it's mostly like, okay, what can I do to not piss this arowana off? I don't want it to get drop eye, I don't want it to bash the top, I don't want it to bounce off the walls, I don't want to spook it. And there, you know, I'm not saying there won't ever be an arowana in that tank, but for right now, I don't know. I'm just unlikely to keep an arowana. Yeah, that's where I'm at with that. Any movement on the small Zis filter? I believe on Sunday you're going to see in a fish room tour some of the ones we're testing. And I would say movement is happening, but it's not at a point in which we want to sell. And that's just it. Like, sometimes development takes years, and so that, like, we're being very open about it. And so, you know, obviously you guys are gonna ask, like, where are you at with that? And it's like, yeah, they're raising more money to make another mold so they can try this version, and then we gotta see how that goes. But right now, I think we're testing 3 more Zis filter variations, and in our opinion, none of them are where they need to be for us to bring on another one. Doesn't mean they're not close. Like, we just gotta keep tweaking. In fact, I don't know where it's at, but I have another Zis product that we saw when we were in China we really liked that we're putting into testing. And I think this one's gonna be good. Like, I already know, I'm like, yeah, it's pretty good. But, you know, with everything, we want to run through its paces. Just because I think it's good, just because I saw it working, doesn't mean that it's not going to break or we're not going to have problems. And so, you know, we've got some in testing right now at the warehouse and Randy's house, and mine are going to go in soon. We're going to put some in the store, and we're going to put them through the paces. And if they're great, we'll bring them on. And hopefully, I think they are, though. I think they're going to work. Mikey Fishy, welcome. All right. Yeah, not everyone. I always say that everyone, not everyone. Some people are saying they really enjoy the auto feeder. I myself really enjoy that auto feeder as well. It's, yeah. We're also going to, by the way, if we're being truthful, we're also going over our return policy / defective policy / whatever that is. Like, right now, it's just not conducive to our business of, like, there's always outliers. Like, 80% of people it works great for, and then there's like 20% of people that will, like, abuse a system where, you know, like, sure, we'll take a light as a return. Yes, you didn't like it, okay. It's another thing when you buy a light from us and then ship back your old broken one that got wet, and then, like, well, we only take returns if it's brand new. This thing's clearly old and used. And so it puts us in an awkward situation. Like, do we just call the customer a liar? Or do we just, like, well, okay, here's your money back. So we need to, like, define a little bit better, like, okay, if this thing doesn't come back new, what are we going to do? What's going to go on? And so, yeah, it's part of the thing. Like, as we grow, you know, it used to be like once every 6 months, something like that happened. And now it's like, hold on, we gotta put a stop to this. Like, this, we can't absorb these all the time. So, all right. Am I gonna carry the big jars of both Fritz meds? Yes, Twin City Guppies. So if we're being honest, we were pushing very hard for all of these meds because we believe that, you know, you guys have heard me go to war with API. They, in my opinion, had a stranglehold on the market, charging quite a bit for some of these meds. Do I have any of the bulk? Do I have any of the bulk here with me? I don't know. I'd have to go dig and see, but yes, the answer is yes. We keep asking for deadlines. They keep missing deadlines at the production facility. But yes, we fully intend to carry bulk. And so I can say this, that like right now, API's got giant jars that are like, what do we got some for like 150, 180 bucks or something like that. And our goal, I was like, whatever we do, it has to be less than 100 bucks. Got to be bulk. Got to be less than 100 bucks. And it doesn't have to treat as much as the $180 thing. But right now, API is like, here's a 10-pack for, you know, let's say $14. And then here's this giant thing for $180. Like, I think the average hobbyist needs, like, I was really trying to thread the needle about like $75. Like, average person's got this many tanks. They don't need Gigantotron size. They need something like this, you know, and actually it's smaller, but less what do they call that? Diluted, I guess? Yeah, diluted. It's less diluted. But yes, and so I've tested those products on the 800 gallon, and yes, they are coming. And some of them could be in as soon as like this week. So like trust me, they were supposed to be here in like November. Like, we are definitely fast-tracked, first to have them. You know, the first iteration had problems with labeling, and I didn't like the spoon. The spoon was not good, and so we forced them to find a better spoon and change packaging. Because if I'm going to endorse a product that says like, "Hey guys, I went to bat for you. I really got them to do this and work on this," I don't want it to be like, "Well, couldn't you have done a better job, Corey?" And you're like, yeah, maybe. So, yeah. So I have been some of the delay because I just don't want to release that without enough testing on our end. We've been using it in the store for like 6+ months now, I think, and really wanted to. My wife's, yeah, they're more condensed. She says, yes, these ones are gonna be more condensed and makes it easier to ship, because that's one of our problems. These big shipping. One of the problems we have is the $175 things of API meds. It's heavy, and if it gets dropped the right way, it can crack open, and then you got all this white powder around, and it's a mess. Well, if we condense that, make it not as heavy, ships better, great, better for everyone. And so we wanted to address that problem. We wanted a great scoop. We wanted, so like the API one, again, a scoop treats 20 gallons. We want the scoop to treat 10 gallons. 10 gallons, easy math. 800 gallon, 80 scoops, easy. Instead of me going, okay, it's 40. All right, it's not hard, but it is hard when you're doing like a whole store. And you got to go, okay, this 360 gallon, hold on, 36 divided by 18. Okay, 18. And then you go to the next thing, you're like, oh, this is a 90. Okay, so it's like 100 would be 5. Okay, so it's 4.5 scoops. Where it's easy when you're just like, oh, it's 9, 36, 20 gallons or 2, 30 gallons or 3, 75 gallons. Oh, I go with 4, or I go with, see, I already default to 4 because I know I've been doing it for so many years that 4 scoops with API would have been 80 gallons. I always go the extra 5. I'd rather be a little bit heavy than a little bit light. And so I would go with 8 scoops. Yeah. Yes, easy meds. Yeah, I didn't want the liability of doing easy meds, and we don't know how to manufacture them. So it was easier to, like, and this is what I want to do, by the way. If you're a company out there that wants to make good products, we want to work with you. I want to advise you. I want to help sell them. I want to carry them. I want to do all of that. I don't want to do all of the work. I don't want to do all the work, but I do know a thing or two about, I've used meds for a very long time. I know what I think people would enjoy because I know what I would enjoy, and hopefully make it a little bit better. That's my whole goal. That's all I'm trying to do. One of my biggest criticisms with Fritz, why do you have Maricin in a 24-pack and you have your Paracleanse in a 20-pack? Get it together. And I yell at them every time I talk to them, like, either take that one to 24 or take that one down to 20. These need to match. You're killing me. You're killing me here. Like, get it together. Get branding on point. Get these things going. Like, and the reasoning why, and I'll be 100% transparent with you. The reason the 20-pack isn't a 24-pack is because you can't concentrate the meds enough, and so a 24 package bloats the box, and they'd have to do all new packaging design and raise the price. So if the goal was to make meds cheaper, we'd have to make them more expensive to accommodate the new packaging. So that's why it's a 20-pack and a 24-pack, because the erythromycin part of Maricin is more concentrated than, it only has one med in it, one active ingredient, erythromycin, whereas you have 2 meds in Paracleanse, which is praziquantel and metronidazole. And because of that, you can't condense it as much, and therefore, but it drives me nuts of like, it would have been really, really nice to go put these 2 boxes together. They both treat 200 gallons, not 240 and 200. But hey, we got 95% there. That's, at a certain point you got to go, you know what? Let's get this out to the public. We'll deal with it later. Okie doke. 5:30. Okay, we're doing all right. I want to make sure we weren't cutting into KG Tropical's live streams. And we got a new member from Pat's Fish Tanks. Well, thank you. Would you be able to take over? Wait, that's a question talking to someone else. I was like, that doesn't pertain to me at all. Can you crossbreed different types of shrimp? If so, which ones would be a good choice to do so? I don't. Well, I don't know which ones are good to cross, because I believe tiger shrimp and you can cross tiger shrimp and crystals, right? That's how you get a lot of these morphs. But I don't know about crossing different types of shrimp enough to know what you're going to get out of it. I think we're still learning. You can change around with colors a little bit in its own, like, oh, Neo's changing them up. But yeah, I'm not 100% sure. Or at least, it's not that, well, one, I'm not sure. And two, I'm not the right guy to ask. Chris Lukup is a guy to ask. Nico Shrimp would be a guy to ask. Which, by the way, I'm hoping to visit Nico Shrimp when we're in Germany, which he's in France. So we're going to go over to France to visit him there. But I will be doing quite a bit with the Shrimp King. Hopefully there's more to come from the Shrimp King as well. So stay tuned. Any quick info on half beaks would be great. I just ordered 400 Celebes half beaks to import, by the way. We got to go through quarantine and everything. But in general, Livebearer, love it. And they hang out up top for the most part. A lot of floating plants, really helpful. Guppy grass, water sprite, all that kind of stuff. Floating foods are nice. And then when it comes to fry, they really eat their own fry quite hard. So netting them out as soon as you see them, you can raise them up off site, like in another aquarium. And all those line of sight blocks from the floating plants helps a little bit. And feeding tons of food so they're not actively hungry and hunting down their babies. Those are my basic tips. Other than, normal Livebearer tips, higher pH, harder water, feed them well, use antibiotics when you get them, deworm them when you get them. All of those things are, I consider, standard for all fish, but even more so for Livebearers. They tend to get cramped up in wholesalers and that kind of stuff. I mean, even us, like, we're going to put 400 of them in a 33-gallon auto water change system. We're going to medicate them. We're going to do all that. Once they get through the first round of meds and they look good, we're then going to split them. And then from there, we'll start selling and monitor them accordingly. It's expensive to, like, use meds in two places and that kind of stuff. So first meds always happen in the, together, and then from there you split them up. So hopefully it's not communicable if something was to break out then. And yeah. John's getting 3 Epistogramma Cacatoides tomorrow, and I want to quarantine them, but I was told not to use General Cure, but to use ProsiPro. What do I think? In my opinion, either one is fine. So every Episto that ever comes through our store gets General Cure. So I don't think there's any risk to using General Cure. That being said, when you get to a point where you're having problems with fish that you can't diagnose, that's why these fish both went through ProsiPro and General Cure, because there's slightly different concentrations, and one being a liquid form, one being a dry form. I believe I've been able to treat some things with Prosi that I couldn't treat with General Cure. I've been able to treat some things with General Cure that I couldn't treat with Prosi, and so I believe that they are different, but very, very similar. Like 90% of all things are treated by either one. And then there's like 10% on either side of, like, well, this one leans towards that, this one leans towards that. Does the Aquarium co-op filter have better mechanical filtration than this? Yes, by design. I mean, it's got a lot of sponge, and so therefore it just has more sponge area to capture more stuff. If the sponge part on a Zis filter was larger, it would be the same, but the Zis filter is meant to be a very, very good biological filter, and then like a sponge filter is meant to, one, be biological, but also be mechanical. So it's like 50-50, where the Zis filter is more like 90% biological, 10%, not even 10, like 5% mechanical. So that's why you would put one as opposed to the others. What are good foods for pea puffers? Frozen bloodworms, frozen brine shrimp, live snails, live shrimp. You can try to get them on Vibrabites. That's a nice, good dry food to get them onto if you can. But you always want to kind of mix in some of those real meaty foods. They're carnivore for sure. If you had a bunch of them, you can try like a piece of cocktail shrimp. That works. Miller Aquatic says, I want to say I got one of your sponge filters and a large pre-filter. Great quality, but I also think the sponge filter is perfect. Love the porosity. Good. I'm always hesitant when I read those because it's long and I don't know how it's going to end. You know, especially when it's like great quality, but like, uh-oh, but what? Yeah, I mean, those products were designed off of me using them for, you know, like 15, well, not probably 14 years of being a sponge filter intake sponge guy, and what I always wish for, what I wish I could do. And you know, when you have 14 years of, if I was making this product, that's how I would do it, and then you get a chance to do it, well, guess what? You make it like how you wanted it. And because I could do anything, it came out basically the way I want it. I'm trying to think if there's anything I don't like about it. There is one thing. There's one thing I don't like about my sponge filter, in that I want, long term, I would love to have an Aquarium co-op power head that fit perfectly to the tube on my uplift of the sponge filters. But because we don't have one, it doesn't make sense to make it bigger or smaller or change the diameter of the size until we know we were mating 100% perfectly with a pump we wanted to use. And so for right now, they are absolutely great. If we ever find a great, reputable, and quality powerhead manufacturer that wants to do business with us, and we can mate that up, and it meets all the quality assurance checks and all of that, and the pricing's right, I could see us changing that part a little bit in the future down the road. But it wouldn't be a big change. Small changes, small tweaks. Thank you ever so much for introducing the USB Nano air pump. It's so quiet that you can't hear it over the bubbles. Well, thank you. I can bring up another example of, I think I talked about it a few live streams ago. We are going to up the price of the USB Nano air pump by $1. Do I have that prototype here? I swear I had it. I had to take a picture of it just the other day. I don't know where it went, but I'm using it. That's why. I'm testing it to make sure. That's why. Okay. But we are upgrading the quality of the USB adapter. That was kind of an afterthought originally. You know, we went to an aquarium company to make the air pump, and that was great. And then we wanted to ship it with, so you could plug it straight into a wall. They outsource the USB plug part. We tested it. It worked. It's fine. Whatever. And then, like, now we've identified there's like some issues with some people's wall sockets and power. Like, if it's not perfect, it'll make the pump run a little bit wonky. And the way to fix that is to use a better power adapter, or not power, I guess they're USB power adapters. And so the one that we're going to include once it comes in, which I was gonna say it should be here by now, but nothing's shipping because of Chinese New Year and coronavirus. So they might be here next week. They might be here in 2 weeks. Like, we're shipping over like $5,000 worth, so we can retrofit the ones that we have. So what the plan is going to be, we pay all the money to ship them over. We're then going to retrofit the ones we have, and now they're going to cost like $1 more. So it'll go from $8 to $9, I think. But these adapters, one, you can plug 2 things into them. That's one of the biggest feedback things we got is, hey, I'm running a bunch of these little pumps. They take up a lot of sockets. I wish we could plug 2 into 1. Because people were doing that. Then we wanted to make sure that it was much higher quality so that no power issues in old houses or anything like that had any effect. And then we wanted them to be USB 3.0 so that, you know, it was like a little bit faster charging for phones and some of that stuff, so that it was a quality USB convertery thingy. And, you know, we had some real electrical engineer nerds looking at it, and they're like, oh yeah, this one's primo. Yeah, that's the one you want. Compared to this one, here's why you're running into the problem in some of these older homes, and went way above my head. But I said, you know what? You sound real smart, and we were having that problem. This one seems to not have that problem, so that sounds good. And so, yes, we will have a better product. It will cost $1 more, but you'll be able to plug 2 into 1, which is an upgrade anyway. And we'll continue to have the utmost quality. But I'm glad you enjoy it, because, you know, and people probably don't know unless they watch that one specific live stream, but, oh no, one of them's out. I don't know what's going on over there. But this one right here is powered by the USB air pump. So I got to figure out what's going on. I was monkeying with a bunch of stuff up here and unplugging stuff. So how do I not give it away? That other video. Well, basically, I need to run fans and stuff, and some of them right here. I was unplugging some stuff to run some USB fans, and so I don't know if I remember to plug it back in. But those those big discs and everything, even in a 40-inch deep tank, are being run by USB air pumps. So blew my mind. I thought for sure it wouldn't work, and totally works. So all right, I like it. Is that a giant crinum behind you, Corey, or are you just happy to see me? That is a giant crinum behind me. Yes, making some babies. It's gone through some meltdowns as we've redone the tank. We moved it around. We had to do that giant salt treatment that one time. And yes, crinum's looking good. I love me a crinum. I thought about adding some more crinums maybe, but my long-term plan with staying with the goldfish is I'm going to get some Vallisneria. I'm going to pot it into a very shallow, like bonsai dish or something, get it to grow out in a tank in my fish room so it's really dense. Then I'm going to take that and I'm going to plant that deep into the gravel because these little hellions love to dig. And the couple of times I've tried to get Vallisneria started in there, they just won't leave it alone. It never gets a foothold. And I know goldfish and that works if you can get it to get the foothold first. And so I got to get a foothold in a different aquarium, transplant that into here, a nice solid base, and get that going, because I really miss that look of the long Vallisneria in there. You know, the crinums hold me over, but I really do like it. Okie doke. I'm planning to purchase a green spotted puffer, but the seller that sells them is kind of shady. I think I'll have to quarantine my puffer for internal parasites. Is malachite green good? Not so much for internal parasites. I don't know if you're in like a different country, but if you're in the United States, use General Cure is what I would start my deworming process with. If you're not in the United States, then it gets into meds I don't know, so I don't have a good recommendation for you, unfortunately. But if you can get malachite green, gotta be something. Do I have any other hobbies than fish keeping? No. I'm sad. I've tried to start some hobbies. I need, you know, I'll say this. If you happen to be local to my store and you want to meet up with me several times a week to play pickleball, and I'm not good. I mean, I'm not the worst, but I'm not good. I want to get better. At like my local gym, that's a hobby I want to continue and get some more time at. I play a little bit of World of Warcraft. Fewer and far between every day now. You know, like today, I would have loved to play all day, except I know I probably won't be able to log in until 10 o'clock at night. Maybe get to play till 11:30, and then I have a meeting with our web team in London at midnight. So, you know, I try to fit them in here and there, but, you know, I stay dedicated to my craft, which is freshwater fish. And, yeah, I don't think I've got any other hobbies, though, besides my puppies, my wife, fish. I guess that's it. I'm a workaholic itself. Oh, and I started a new business, which is Unique Viewers. It's a YouTube channel that the second video comes out this Sunday, and that's a side project. I asked myself if I could do anything, what I want to do, and I want to do more business. So I love to work on business, so that is my hobby. Like even on vacation, I wanted to work on business. If you ask me, you can do anything you want right now, I'd be like, can we look at analytical data? Can we make changes? Can we test things? Can we do that? I find it really fun. So hard to get out of that for me. Am I going to make a sponge filter lamp? I do want to. I saw that. It was super cool. Someone made a lamp out of our sponge filter. I thought about making one out of our big sponge filter. It'd be kind of funny. That's one of those things that, like, I totally want to, but in the actual doing of might not ever happen. Like I could easily just be like, that would have been good, but I'm not. I'm too lazy. Love how my wife is a hobby. Yeah, that's I don't know how to explain it. I guess I was trying to explain how I spend my time, I guess. I can see how that's hilarious, and you know, for me it's hilarious enough that I'm like, I'll keep saying that. Could we have another live stream a week with 2 people, Corey and another Aquarium co-op member? No. Mostly because it starts, like, one, not everyone wants to be on camera. The people that do want to be on camera, they don't know what is and isn't public yet, you know, so they might say, like, oh, this product, that thing, this vendor. Not that it's never going to happen, but for the most part, like right now, well, not this exact moment, but for the most part, we're all hands on deck all the time. We don't really have extra employees. So much so, like when Jimmy was here, you know, we didn't have time. Like he was in another place filming while I was doing the live stream. So it's you know, I do want to get my wife on here. I do want Dean on here at some point. I want to start trying to do a few more podcasts and stuff. So there's that avenue. But in general, this is the least efficient way for me to share information. Like lots of business stuff is stacking up. I have, you know, other teams of people waiting on me right now. You know, we have like an issue with the website that needs to get, like the minute this is done, I'm investigating a website issue that's affecting some people. And so, yeah, it's not that it won't happen, but I think the correct avenue for that is mostly some of the unboxings and that kind of stuff where people are already at work. We've got, you guys will see a bunch of our employees in the new shipping video. They're going to get in an email that talks about our new shipping prices and all of that. And we do try to include them, but there are definitely, we've got X amount of people that never want to be on camera, you know, and so we can't put them on camera. And there's people that don't want people in their lives. Like right now, well, not everyone, I always make that mistake. A lot of people want to see Robert's fish room. Robert spends all day at the store where people, you know, see him on YouTube and they interact with him, and they don't necessarily want his whole home life to be the topic of discussion while you're at work and all of that. And I totally get that because I lived that life of like, you know, where'd you get that thing? What are you doing there? Blah, blah, blah. And so it makes it really hard to escape work if everyone wants to talk about even your home life while you're at work. And I respect that. And so that's why we've never pushed like, Robert, we really got to film your tanks. We never got to, you know, nothing like that. He likes being on, you know, the videos and that kind of stuff at work. But I do think it's healthy to let the employees separate home from work. And I think Jimmy's life is better for it now. Now they've moved to Ohio. He's got that nice separation from work versus being on, you know, because even when he lived with us here, you know, he'd normally be sitting like right over there 6 feet away, but he didn't want to be on camera because it's like you're working all day now. And while I'm super adjusted to it, a lot of people, it's very, very stressful for them to be live on camera. It's stressful enough to be in front of a camera that's not live, but when it's live, there's a lot of YouTubers that I talk with that just can't do it. They're like, I just can't do it. I'm so afraid I'm going to say the wrong thing. I'm going to look dumb. Things are going to happen. I'm going to stutter, whatever it is, right? And so we limit it. You know, like Randy's been on a live stream. Dean has. Robert has. You know, that kind of stuff. Like Candy's been on a different channel, but you know, most times when you talk to these people, they'll do it out of like a favor, but they're not exactly like, when can I come on? I want to be on next time, right? And you need to make sure everyone's on the same page. We're doling out the same advice, and you got a game plan, and you got to brief them. You know, so if someone coming on a live stream, it's like, okay, get here a couple hours early. We're gonna go over equipment. We're gonna go. You need to look at this camera. You know that the microphone's gonna be over here. Okay, we both need to sit back so we can both be on. What's the audio like? What's this gonna be like? Don't tap your feet because you can pick that up, right? Like there's all these little things you got to go over. Your water's gonna sit over here. This is gonna go this way, and so yeah, that's why it's unlikely, because we've done that with Joel, Corvus Oskin, and that kind of stuff. We used to do it a lot, and it was a ton of work. And right now, I struggle to get you guys a weekly live stream with just me. And so, you know, part of that is like, I've been crazy busy up until this point. Like, we didn't even schedule this live stream until this morning at like 10 or 11. When I knew I was pretty sure I was going to do it, but I was like, there's so much work. Like, something could come up and I won't be able to do it, and I don't want to disappoint people. And that makes it really hard to schedule someone to be like, yeah, come in and be on this live stream. And then next week I won't be here. Then there's that following week, which maybe could be a thing, but then I'll be doing cleanup work from that. So yeah, I think the appropriate is in the videos, which, by the way, I think this Sunday's video will have 2 different Aquarium Co-op employees in it at length. So, and it's not an unboxing, so it's a different video altogether. It's someone's fish room, right? And so as people want to do it, great. What I think happens though, if I asked my employees, they'd all probably say yes. But think about that. That's your boss asking you to do something, and it's like in your best interest to say yes, but I wish I had said no. Like I didn't want them to be mad or anything. So, I try not to put my employees in that situation if I can. I try to make it real easy, like, hey, we're gonna shoot a video over here. If you don't want to be on video, work on this side. We'll keep to this side. Make it easy. All right. Can you please sell me on buying high-end expensive guppies? No, don't do it. It's a bad addiction. So I would tell you, don't. Wait till a guy like me spends too much money, and then I sell them cheap. Because that's what happens. So, like right now, we've got quite a bit of fry of the guppies we brought back from Vienna. Dean's got a bunch. We sent some home with Jimmy, because I've got a bunch. And soon, I'm going to, well, not soon, like not tomorrow or something, but in an appropriate amount of time, I'm going to bring them into the store. Then they're going to be widespread in the hobby, and I think, I think that's my advice. And expensive would be, to me, like over that $100 mark. Anything under that, I think, is justifiable. If you're gonna buy a pet, you're gonna keep it, you're gonna play with it for a year, and it costs you $80. That's like going to the movies like 4 times. You're getting way good money out of these expensive things. Now, that being said, there are tons of fish like the Variatus platies you can go buy from my store or Petco, or not Petco, PetSmart for $3.50. They're not expensive, and I get just as much enjoyment out of them as I do my very expensive guppies. So that's what I would say. I would tell you, don't buy I'm not here to convince you to buy expensive stuff. I'm here to convince you to buy what you like and what you want to play with and explore and have fun with. You should definitely do that. But more expensive is not better. And usual, like, more expensive is just rarer. And usually there's a reason why it's rare. It's harder to keep. Maybe it's brand new. Maybe we don't know enough about it. Yeah. But if you do buy, hashtag I'm sponsored by Twin City Guppies. He sent me some free guppies. That's why it's technically sponsored. But when Twin City Guppies gets them back in stock, which he might have in stock, I don't know. I saw someone asking when one of them was getting back in stock. Buy them from him. He's a good dude. And I still like his fish. Santa Claus guppies got upgraded. They're actually in the picture of this video, or of this live stream. They're in the picture of the trio. Dean got some fry out of his. I'm convinced my auto feeder wasn't feeding heavy enough, so every time I leave, if they drop babies, they get eaten. So I moved them into a more planted tank, and I'm feeding them more, and I'm spoiling them more so I can get some fry, because, not that Dean taunts me, but I feel like he does. By him not even talking about it, he's taunting me, I know it. Are Latacara curviceps easily available in the US? I would say no, not easily. I've had them probably 10 times in the store / my own fish room, but they're not commonly available. But curviceps and Nanacara anomala and those kind of like dwarf cichlids that aren't epistos or rams, not nearly as common in the United States. Great fish, but someone's breeding them locally though. I can't remember who I was talking to, and I was like, bring them in. It might be Robert. Robert might be breeding them. I can't remember. I was like, yeah, that's sweet, man. Bring them in. All right. I'm struggling with white stringy poop in my flower horn. I've used Prozipro, General Cure, and erythromycin. Sorry. I would try flubendazole or levamisole next. And this is assuming you've given ample time, because with all those meds, you can give your fish basically like diarrhea. And so it takes like a couple of weeks for them to have normal bowel movements and stuff again. So assuming we've let that time pass, try a different dewormer, levamisole, flubendazole, both different. They're more for cattle and sheep and that kind of stuff, which is a different anti-worming agent than these other products you've used. So you've got a good chance of getting it there. Looking to start a colony of black mollies, and they're doing the wiggle dance. I have a ton of crushed coral, and I have hornwort and other live plants, so I don't want to add salt. So usually it's not the salt that mollies need, it's the minerals. So get yourself some equilibrium or wonder shells and just really make that water hard. They really want hard water. And I wish I had a good example for you, but If you are you a member? Let's see. Oh, nope, you're not a member yet, so it's not going to help you specifically. But in that video, when I went to Carl's house, you can see his sponge filters are crusted with calcium. The water out of his well is so hard that sponges become rocks, literally rocks of calcium. And so, you know, mollies thrive in his water. Livebearers in general thrive. And when you compare that to my water, like I could take his sponge filter and put it in my water, and I bet you after like a month, it wouldn't be a rock anymore. It would dissolve out. So they really, really, really want hard, super hard water. Like off the charts measurable hard water. They really enjoy that. Knowing it could take a long time, do you feel it would be of benefit for me to develop my own molly strain? What benefit are you looking for? Self-accomplishment? Yes, definitely. Money? Maybe. You know, you'd really have to do a lot of work to get something that hadn't already been done that people will pay a lot of money for. And in general, mollies aren't popular, so you're already like up against a wall. If you were like, oh, I want to make money, I'd be like, well, how about an angelfish? Right? Or how about a guppy? Something that's got much more purchasing power already, because it's going to take you, let's say it takes you 5 years to make something. Well, it's going to take you 5 years, whether it's an angel, a guppy, a swordtail, a molly. But at the end, if the goal is money, choose one that's going to give you more money. If it's just personal enjoyment, then the benefit, yes, I think that's good. You would enjoy that. Thank you for becoming a member, David Reed. If I was to make a video on mollies explaining the care, I'd love to see you do a video on it. Don't I have one? I feel like I have one. Let's do the test here. All right, and then I gotta end this thing real quick here, but let's go to the web. Whoop. So you can come over here, and on a desktop you can hit this little search icon. Do I have anything on mollies? Yeah, I knew I did a video 3 years ago on fancy mollies. So I do have a video you could watch. I also have one on non-fancy mollies, which would be the Liberty mollies. Those are the ones that eventually went to Flynn. So yes, but that is an underutilized aspect of YouTube, is going to a creator you already want to watch their videos and then searching. You know, like let's say you want to just look up Livebearers in general, like from today. Like I want to know more about Livebearers. You type that in, you go, okay, here's like a top 5. Oh, here's Endler's Livebearer. Here's Endler's again. Here's this live stream, Platycare guide, world's smallest Livebearer, Hedriana formosa. I've got those living with my turtles. Love that fish. Another live stream from 3 years ago where I'm wearing the Taco Bell hat. Woohoo, talking about that. The fish room tour we were talking about, Greg Sage. Here's one of them. I've done multiple. Here's how to build a fry trap. Here's how one of the guppy farms in Israel. Blue Silverado Endlers that I used to keep. Here's that DIY fish trap that Dean and I did. Growing fry fast using auto feeders. The fancy mollies. Another live stream on guppies. So yeah, that's one of the best ways to search for content, because we've got hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of, well, you know, almost 1,000 videos at this point. And so a lot of topics, like here's one just specifically about Volifera mollies. There's a lot of topics that have been covered, and this is a good resource, and we get it all the time. I would say like 20 times a day in the comment section, why don't you make a video about X? And my response is always, well, watch this video. This is on that. We've done that 4 times. Like if you want to learn about, filters, like we've done tons of different filter optimization videos. You know, there's a lot of aspects we've covered over the years on filtration, right? So most things have been covered, not everything, but that is, start there and go, hey, have you done this yet? And then, because then it makes my job a lot better. When you go, hey, I watched your video about mollies. I noticed you didn't talk about this aspect. Could you do a new one that did talk about that aspect, or do you have the answer for that? And then I can respond with a well-detailed answer, as opposed to like, oh, did you watch the video? And because most people just don't know I have a lot of those videos, and YouTube has never made it a good way to find it other than this weird search thing that they kind of hide in the corner. And I don't think the search thing might not even be available on mobile. I'm not sure, which is unfortunate because it's a great tool. I use it all the time when I find a creator I like, and I go, ooh, I wonder if they ever did this or they did that. What's their opinion on this? Best guppies in the world strain. Any update? I don't have them anymore. They basically fizzled out. They basically, with all the travel, at what point last year they were fizzling out. Like Jimmy was kind of feeding the fish room. We didn't have auto feeders, and we got male heavy, and then they chased down fry and women, or the female guppies. Yeah, like we took some to the store, but they basically fizzled out. So I don't have them anymore. That's just the reality of that. You know, and with guppies, if you don't stay on them, you lose them because they're a short-lived fish. You know, only 2 to 3 years for most people. The word of the day over at John's stream, hashtag aquarium coop. We're doing that because not a lot of people know that hashtag aquarium coop is used all over the internet, on Instagram, on Facebook. And we watch for them, we comment on them, we, you know, share them in our stories and all of that. And so, you know, we put it on our packaging tape, and there's all these ways we use it. And I've never used it as the word of the day before. So hashtag aquarium coop over at the KD Tropicals live stream. Head on over there. I'll be hanging out. I'll be diagnosing that website problem as we established earlier while listening to the stream. And last but not least, I will be doing some work with Zenzo because I'm going to be at his house next week. So look forward for that. And thanks everyone that became a member. Thanks everyone who showed up. Looks like we had about 1,000 people today, which is great. And video on Sunday. Sunday. Got to end this live stream and head on over. aquariumcoop.com for all your aquarium needs and aquarium accessories. If I can find the right button.